the invisible price of trying to please everyone. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to please. First, to please our parents, to earn affection, approval, security. Then to please our teachers, to be the good student, the well-behaved one, the example. Over time, this habit becomes an invisible pattern, and without realizing it, we begin to base our self-esteem on the reactions of others. You start to mold your behavior, your choices, even your dreams, just to fit the expectations of those around you. And then comes the trap. The more you try to please, the further you stray from yourself. You start to silence yourself, to fade away, to lose yourself. The price of this, it's high and almost always invisible. You swallow feelings that needed to be said. You ignore that intuition that screams deep down inside. You stifle desires that would make you happy, but that could disappoint someone else. All because you've learned that your peace depends on the approval of others. And the cruelest part is that even if you give your all to please others, there will always be someone who is dissatisfied. There will always be someone who will judge, criticize, or belittle you. You can be kind, dedicated, loyal, yet they will still find fault with you, because the problem was never you. The problem is trying to seek validation in a world that changes its opinion every minute. And while you try to be good enough for others, you forget to be good to yourself. The truth is that this constant effort to please is not love. It's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, fear of not being loved. And it is precisely this fear that makes you create masks, characters, versions of yourself that don't even exist. But living to please others is like living with an eternal emotional debt. You never feel rewarded, you never feel free. And time goes by, and the bill comes due in the form of anxiety, exhaustion, sadness, emptiness. Freedom begins when you understand that you don't have to be everything to everyone. You just have to be whole for yourself. Living authentically is an act of courage. It's saying, this is me with my rights and my wrongs. Whoever wants to stay, stay. It's owning your tastes, your desires, your truths, even if it displeases some people. And yes, it may hurt at first, it may seem lonely, but over time, you will realize that authenticity attracts what is true. You will attract lighter relationships, more aligned opportunities, and above all, peace. Because the peace of living who you really are is priceless, and it definitely cannot be bought with the approval of others. 2, when you focus on others, you abandon yourself. How many times have you said yes when you desperately wanted to say no? How many times have you stayed somewhere you didn't want to be, just so you wouldn't disappoint someone? How many times have you accepted a responsibility that suffocated you just to avoid conflict? That's right. Each of these forced yeses seems small, but together they drain you. They disconnect you from your essence, your intuition, your truth. And when you realize it, you no longer remember who you really are. You only react to what others expect of you. It's as if you were a jug of water, and everyone had a cup in their hand. One asks for your attention, another asks for your patience, yet another demands your energy. And you keep giving, you keep serving, until one day the jug runs dry and no one notices. Because they've gotten used to you always being available, always strong, always present. And then comes exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion sets in, irritation for no reason, the desire to disappear for a few days. But you don't understand why. Because you still believe that taking care of yourself is selfish. And it's not. It never was. The world taught you that putting others first is noble. But it forgot to tell you that you are also the other to yourself. You also need attention, affection, rest. And ignoring that is like trying to fill up everyone else's car while yours is on reserve. It's not about being cold or insensitive. It's about having balance. Understanding that you can't save anyone if you're drowning. That you can't enlighten anyone if you're in the dark. True generosity starts with you. Because only when you are whole can you offer something real to the world. Taking care of yourself is an act of responsibility. It's you saying, I care about myself, I listen to myself, I prioritize myself. And that doesn't distance you from others. It actually brings you closer to the right relationships. When you stop neglecting yourself, you begin to rebuild yourself. You start making more conscious choices, setting boundaries more firmly, and living with more presence, more purpose, and more truth. Focusing on yourself is not turning away from the world. It is preparing yourself better to be in it, whole, strong, and true. 3. Time is your most precious asset, and it doesn't come back. You can lose money and get it back. You can lose energy and replenish it. You can even lose friendships, loves, opportunities, and over time find new ones. But time is the only thing that once it's gone, never comes back. And yet, it's what we waste the most. With postponed promises, repeated excuses, priorities that aren't even ours. We live as if we had an eternity, but every minute that passes is a fraction of life that will never return. How many times have you been in places you didn't want to be? In empty conversations with people who added nothing to your life? How many hours have you wasted smiling so as not to upset anyone, saying yes just to keep up appearances? And all for what? For fear of appearing selfish, for fear of being misunderstood, excluded, criticized. But while you try to fit into someone else's world, your world is being left behind. And time slips through your fingers, without warning, without pause, without return. The truth is harsh but liberating. You don't have time to waste trying to be what others expect of you. Every minute you spend trying to please everyone is a minute you fail to invest in yourself, in your dreams, in your peace, in your mental health, in your evolution. Life won't wait for you to find yourself. It will continue to pass, day after day, with or without purpose. And the decision to live authentically or not is yours. It always has been. Focusing on yourself is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's a way of saying, I value my time, my energy, my journey. It's choosing to be where you want to be, doing what's good for you, and walking away without guilt from what slows you down, drains you, paralyzes you. You didn't come into this world to please others. You came to live, to grow, to experience. And that only happens when you honor the most precious thing you have, your time. So before you say yes next time, take a breath and ask yourself, does this take me where I want to go? Or does it just keep me stuck a little longer in a place that isn't mine? 4. Comparison is the thief of your peace. Today, more than ever, we live exposed to constant scrutiny. The internet has turned people's lives into an eternal stage under the spotlight. Everything is filtered, edited, rehearsed, and the impression that remains is that everyone is winning except you. And then the comparison begins. You look at the perfect body, the dream trip, the smiling couple, the professional success, and you think, where did I go wrong? But what you forget is that you are comparing the behind the scenes of your life with the highlights of someone else's. You see the final photo without knowing how many cuts, how much pain, how many bad days there were behind it. Comparison isn't just unfair, it's cruel, because it doesn't consider the differences in journey, context, purpose. It only points out what's missing, never what you have. And the more you compare yourself, the smaller you feel. The more you feel like you're behind, lost, inadequate. And that paralyzes you, because instead of looking inward, you're always looking sideways. And worse, you start to doubt your own worth, your own story, your own light. But someone else's success doesn't negate yours. It just shows that it's possible for you too. Focusing on yourself means stepping out of this silent competition. It means understanding that everyone has a different time, a different pace, a different calling. Your journey doesn't have to be spectacular in the eyes of the world. It just has to make sense to you. You're not behind. You're on your path. And when you stop running a race that isn't even yours, you discover that you can walk with more lightness, more authenticity, more truth. Life is not about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. And for that, you need to stop comparing yourself and start admiring yourself. When you shift your focus from the external to the internal, something changes profoundly. You begin to recognize your victories, no matter how small they may seem. You begin to respect your flaws without blaming yourself for not being normal. You understand that you don't need to be where someone else is. You need to be where you really want to be. And that takes courage. Courage to tune out the noise from outside and listen more to what comes from the heart. And do you know what happens when you do that? Comparison loses its power. Peace returns, and you can move forward in your own time, on your own path, with your own truth. 5. How to focus on yourself in practice. Focusing on yourself is not about selfishness. It's not about isolating yourself from the world, cutting ties, becoming inaccessible. In fact, it's the complete opposite of that. It's about listening to yourself more. It's about understanding that amid so much noise, so many demands, so much pressure, you also need space. Space to listen to yourself, understand yourself, respect yourself. And it doesn't have to be a big event. It starts with small actions, done with intention. Focusing on yourself is a habit, and like any habit, it starts with practice. First step, create some time that is just for you, even if it's only 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes of silence, 10 minutes of reading, meditation, writing, walking, training. What matters is not the activity itself, but the intention behind it. This moment is non-negotiable. It is your commitment to yourself. It is your daily reminder that your life is also a priority. It may seem like little, but those minutes create a ripple effect. They reconnect you with who you are, with what you feel, with what really matters. Another essential point, learn to say no. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a conscious person. You can't accept everything, go everywhere, help everyone, all the time. It exhausts you. And no one gives their best when they're at their limit. Setting healthy boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's just about showing how far you can go and how far you can't go anymore. And those who truly respect you will understand that. Similarly, learn to say yes more often to yourself. Yes to your desires, your needs, your rest, your projects. You don't need to ask permission to take care of yourself. And here's a key point. Notice how you feel about things. Is there something that makes you anxious, that drains you, that steals your peace? Maybe it doesn't deserve so much of your attention, or maybe you need to rethink how you deal with it. We get used to ignoring our feelings as if they were irrelevant details. But they are signals. They show what nourishes you and what exhausts you. And focusing on yourself is just that, stopping ignoring the signals. The practice of self-knowledge begins with the simple, with how am I feeling about this? With does this bring me closer to or further away from who I want to be? Focusing on yourself is constant training. And the more you practice, the clearer everything becomes. You start making better choices, positioning yourself more confidently, and living with more presence and less guilt. Remembering yourself every day is an act of courage. In a world that screams at you to fit in, choosing to listen to yourself is already a revolution. 6. The fruits of focusing on yourself. Something magical happens when you truly decide to focus on yourself. It's as if the world gradually reorganizes itself around you. Not because everything suddenly changes, but because you change. Your self-esteem grows, your clarity expands, your energy changes frequency, and with that, people notice. The universe responds, and what once seemed difficult, heavy, confusing, begins to make more sense. You begin to understand that your peace is priceless, that your time is too valuable to be given to just anyone in any way. You begin to attract different people. People who respect your boundaries, who recognize your value, who add to your life and don't drain it. Opportunities also change because you no longer accept just anything to feel accepted. You start to choose more consciously, and life begins to give you paths that are more aligned with what you really want. All of this is not a coincidence. It is a consequence. Focusing on yourself reconnects you with your truth. And when you live in truth, you live with purpose. And this is reflected in everything, in your speech, in your gaze, in your attitudes. The most beautiful thing about all this is that this movement does not end with you. When you take care of yourself, respect yourself, prioritize yourself, you inspire. You become a living reminder that it is possible. that it is possible to live with more lightness, with more coherence, with more meaning. You become light, and light does not convince anyone with words. It illuminates with presence. And in this process, you realize that focusing on yourself was never about selfishness. It was always about strengthening yourself, so you could offer your best to the world, without nullifying yourself, without losing yourself, without forgetting yourself. Focusing on yourself is the starting point for a life worth living. A life in which you know who you are, what you want, and where you are going. And above all, a life in which you recognize yourself. Because the greatest victory you can have is not about conquering the world. It's about conquering yourself. Closing call to action. If this video made sense to you, if any part of it touched your heart, then now it's your turn to take action. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And check this out. There's another incredible video right here that will help you even more on this journey of self-discovery.